Hello YouTube and welcome to the channel. Now then, on today's video we are going to be looking at this baby. It's the brand new HBX T10 Traverser. It is their 1/14 scale 390 brushed motored Truggy. Now this thing has very kindly been donated to the channel for review by Banggood, so big thumbs up to them. There will of course be a link in the description to where you can get this from. At present on Banggood it retails for £52, which is about $63 for our American brethren. So this is very much a budget RC. There are two versions, obviously the T10, which is a brushed, and weirdly the brushless version is called the 2105A, so go figure. And that is also on Banggood, and that I think it retails for just under £100. But anyway, we've got the brushed one because I think this is going to be the more popular of the two. This is going to be like the gateway RC that people are going to buy to get into the hobby. So I'm expecting it to be very similar underneath to the 16889 with regards to the running gear, etc. But I also think that it's going to be very similar chassis wise to our Eachine EC30B here, which is a 1/14 scale RC also. And I'm thinking that Eachine use the HBX chassis. That's my theory anyway, but we're about to find out. But anyway, without further ado, let's get this box open and see what we get. Now before we do crack it open, let's have a quick look at the box. It's ready to run, 4-wheel drive, 2.4 gig. It says it's got quality shock absorbers. I very much doubt it at that price point. It's ball raced. This is the brushed version. We've got some diffs in there, and the electronics should be splash proof. We'll soon find out anyway. Now I've had the blue version. Hopefully they've sent me the blue version anyway, because I prefer the blue to the green. But anyway, enough waffle. Let's crack the box open and see what we get. Right then, in the box we get our spares and instruction manual, and as ever with HBXs there will be full spares backup, so you know, even though it's a budget truck, you will be able to get the bits for it. We have got a bag that contains what looks like a battery charger, some spare body clips and a wheelie bar. And this thing is a 390 brushed motor version. I don't think we'll be needing that wheelie bar somehow. Our transmitter, which is very standard brushed HBX fare, not the brushless version. They're actually not bad transmitters, these. I think they have two AA batteries which you have to supply. I mean, they are adjustable for steering trim, and they are adjustable for a throttle trim as well, so, and you can reverse the steering, and I quite like these, even though they're a budget controller, they're not a bad controller really. And last but not least, we've got the actual Truggy itself. Now first impressions are this thing has not got quality suspension. They're literally just springs. There's no damping in these whatsoever, but you wouldn't expect anything else at sort of 50 odd quid, to be honest. Those looking on will instantly recognise some of the components if we turn this thing over. These are all HBX 16889, very similar fare. I think on the brushless version you actually get the stronger sort of wishbones on that you do get on the EC30B, and this thing is absolutely indestructible. But to be honest, the HBX 16889 takes a beating as well, so I think from a durability standpoint this is going to be pretty good. The wheels etc look very familiar, as do the tyre and tread patterns. There's no foams in these, they're just literally just plastic tyres, but again it is a very much a budget truck, so you pay your money, you take your choice, as it were. But underneath, like I say, it looks very similar to HBX. These you get none of the brushless metal running gear. It's all plastic like the ordinary 16889. Anyway, it's a good looking truck. I like the blue colour, I must admit. It does. I think you can adjust these shocks, even though there's no damping in them. I think they have got little adjuster rings on them, so you can adjust them for preload. But that's about it. Anyway, let's whip the body off and take a look underneath. Right then, underneath we have our 390 brushed motor. Now it may not seem a lot, but a 390 brushed motor in a little RC like this, it'll still be quite entertaining, this. That is mated to a 7.4 volt ESC stroke receiver. Now I can't find any information on regards to an ampage output of this thing, but I would assume it was about 25 to 35 amps, something like that. It's not going to blow your socks off. but it's going to be fairly sort of standard, sort of 25-35 amp, I would imagine. It is coupled to a 5-wire steering servo. Again, nothing special. On the brushless version, normally you'll get something like a 3-wire steering servo. We've got our 7.4 volt lithium ion battery, and I don't believe there's a stated capacity on it. Oh, hang on, there might be. 1500 milliamp hours. Disappointingly, it's some weird 4-pin type connector, not the usual Dean's T-type connector. So this is the only battery I've got for this thing. So unfortunately, when that runs out, we've had it. And another disappointment is the suspension. Now, I thought these units were adjustable for preload. They're not. They've just got little sort of rings on them. Although the body of the shock unit is threaded, the adjusters aren't. They're just like little plastic washers. So that's a bit of a disappointment. We're sort of stuck with ultra bouncy suspension. There are a set of lights on this thing. It's pretty much standard affair with regards to the componentry layout of it. I'm going to pull some of the bits and pieces off because I'm pretty sure that underneath we'll find some HBX running gear. But like I say, a bit disappointed about the battery and a bit disappointed about these shocks. Right, I've just partially stripped this thing down just to have a quick look at some of the componentry in the transmission. I've noticed on the wheels they are different from a 16889. The tyres are the same, but the wheels are like a different spoke pattern, and they've got this cool sort of anodised red ring around the edge of the rim, which is pretty cool. If you're looking from a 16889 point of view, you'll recognise the transmission on this thing. I mean, there is a rear diff off a 16889, and they are identical to that in the T10, which is no bad thing. Although they're plastic, I find these 16889 diffs quite durable, actually, considering they're plastic. We've got plastic drive cups, and one thing I don't like on these cheaper RCs are these wheel screws, because sometimes if these snap off, they get stuck in the plastic drive cups, and that's it, you can't get them out. You have to have a new set of cups. The transmission, like I say, is pretty much plastic all the way through, which is not necessarily a bad thing on the HBX, but one thing you will have to replace, and which will definitely snap on you, are these plastic rear drive shafts. They always go, these do, after quite a short period of time generally. But fear not, because where I've put them, you can buy the metal pro versions. So if they do go, all the transmission components, the drivetrain, the transmission, the drive shafts, the wheel cups, everything else you can get in metal, because the pro HBX versions of the 16889 will fit. Apart from that, it's all pretty much standard fare. We've got a metal reduction gear on the end of the motor. Incidentally, we've also got a motor mount that you can flip round on this, same as the 16889. So you can go from 14 tooth side to a 16 tooth side. Whether you can get a 16 tooth pinion for this little 390 brush motor, I don't know, but you could definitely get one for the brushless. So I'm going to put everything back together. Like I say, it's pretty much standard fare. Everything's plastic on this version, but it's HBX plastic, so it's not as bad as you think. Right, so I just fully charged the battery, but before we head out to the test track, I just wanted to show you guys a few things. First of which is the headlights on this thing are pretty bright. I mean, it's no MJX Hyper Go, but they're still quite luminous. Other thing is, despite this thing having a 5-wire steering servo, the steering servo seems pretty responsive and quick. I mean, check this out. That seems pretty quick, that does, for a 5-wire servo. Also, the wheelbase on this, as a comparison, I've got a 16889 chassis here. So if we sort of compare the two, and if you can see there, the T10, the T10's wheelbase is about 20mm longer than the 16889. So there is your sort of 1/14 scale as opposed to 1/16 scale. Now also, HBX do quote a top speed of this thing of 35 kilometers an hour, which is roughly about 21 miles an hour. So we're going to check that first. I personally am highly dubious whether this thing can do 21 miles an hour with a lithium ion battery and a 390 brushed motor, but I have been wrong in the past. but I am highly dubious that this thing will do its rated top speed. But anyway, we're going to take it outside and we're going to check the top speed first, and then we're going to take it to our test track. Right, then let's have a look at what this thing does on the stock 7.4 volt battery. 17.2 miles an hour. It's close, but it's still not 21 miles an hour. And I tell you what, I have noticed this suspension on this thing is really bouncy. But I'm glad for the fact that we've got a splash proof ESC, because it is piddling it down here. Back inside, what did we think of HBX's T10 here? And do you know what, I'm going to have to admit that if there's one thing HBX know how to do, it's they know how to make a decent little budget RC car, and this is no exception. We'll have some pros and cons. We'll start with the cons. I honestly cannot think of anything I don't like about this truck. I'm going to go for the obvious thing in that the suspension is very, very bouncy, but you know what, it was still a laugh to pilot round. Even though the suspension is really bouncy and it would really benefit from some oil shocks, it really didn't detract that much from the enjoyment I got out of driving this thing round. Right, let's have some pros. The first thing I've got written down on my list is the battery. We got at least 25-30 minutes out of the stock battery. We did run a few lipos and other batteries through. I did actually put a Dean's connector on the power lead as well, because obviously we've only got one battery and it's not really long enough to shoot a video with, so I did put a Dean's connector on and did put, we must have put 7-8 packs through this, but the original battery lasted about 25-30 minutes. Next thing I've got written down on my list is the extra wheelbase of this thing. It's got sort of 20-25 millimeters over the 16889, which means in a straight line this thing is noticeably more stable, and it really did add to the enjoyment of actually driving this thing round. Nothing broke, nothing fell off while we were out with this thing. Like I said, we put several packs in it, probably about 7 or 8 actually, and crashed it God knows how many times as usual, jumped it, bashed it, razzed it round, and like I say, nothing broke, nothing fell off, typical HBX quality. Next on my list is the price, 52 quid. It's not a lot of money for this thing. It is a budget RC and you do get a budget componentry on it, but it is really good fun to use, and it's worth every single penny. Right then, conclusion time. Would I recommend HBX's T10 to you guys? And I'm going to say emphatically yes. I mean, if you're after a fun, budget, reasonably reliable little RC car, I don't think you can go far wrong. I do like the extra wheelbase over the 16889, so this would be my weapon of choice if I had to choose. But once again, it's just another winner from HBX. They really do know how to make a decent budget little RC car. As ever, a big thank you to Banggood for supplying this for review. There will be a link in the description to where you can get one from. And they are going to provide me with a promo code for my subscribers. So if you did want this little truck, you can go and get yourself some money off by using the code that's hopefully going to be in the description and in the comments section as well. As ever, if you found the video of use and interest, please give it a massive thumbs up. And if you're feeling that way inclined, hit that subscribe button. It may be a small click for you, but it makes a huge, huge difference to the channel. I am not exaggerating. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and I will catch you again very, very soon. Thank you.